Welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be about generative AI use cases. I'm pretty sure that you have touched or heard the term large language models or generative AI. If you are not familiar with the concept, I suggest you look up some of the previous video. I have posted a link up. Now, generative AI in a nutshell is a new kind of AI where you give it some information and it has a really strong reasoning engine and generative capabilities. Along with this, it has a lot of knowledge on which it is trained. And most of this knowledge could be public knowledge available in public domain, but that's insane. These models are really huge, and then there's only few on the markets that are really shining and taking away the game. It's like a winner takes it all conversation as of now. The GPT, Gemini, Claude, Mistral, those are the key players in the market. Now, why is this being so popular is it is looked as one of the most disruptive technologies in the past few years or maybe even decades. Now, what are the generative AI use cases that your organization might want to tap into? I'll talk about some of them. The first and the foremost is about improving consumer experiences. And how can you do consumer experiences? Maybe you want to enable some sort of a chatbot and virtual assistant, which is core USP of every company. So this can help you do that. You can power your chatbots and virtual assistants using generative AI. You could offer a lot of personalization, just scan through the data and generate personalized insights. You could do conversational analytics as well. The second kind of use case that pops up is productivity boost. And from the space of code generation to note making apps, adopting AI to employee assistant, all of these areas can be thought as productivity boost. So when we look at productivity, it isn't a single function in a specific area. If you're looking at developer productivity, you have tools like code generation, code GPT, GitHub Copilot, etc. If you look at simple note making apps like mem.ai, Reflect, these are all integrated AI. Much simpler versions could exist where you transcribe something and it's capturing in real time what you're saying. And some of these use cases have existed before, but they have been really enhanced by generative AI. So the second kind of use case is productivity boost. The third area is where this really shined, and I think it's where it started, is the creativity space and the generation space, the content. So you could do a lot of product development ideas with this. You could give it a rationale of a product and it can generate thoughts around it. You could generate your marketing content. You could generate FAQs. You could generate different documentation. You could generate sales pitches. So that's a very, very deep area where you need a little bit of factual information, but a lot of content creation is possible. And these spaces, it's really, really shining. I mean, if you see the amount of articles popping up on the internet and the kind of uh, thinking that players like Medium are putting in around this, they're kind of saying no to generative AI for writing. uh, it just proves a point as to how prevalent and how big this can become. So there's good and bad side to it. However, from a use case perspective, you can really do a lot of deep, insightful content generation. And last is you could really do a lot of insightful processing. Like you could do process optimizations. For example, uh, let's say you have lots of existing data, like you're a law firm and you hold a lot of data, and you want to scan through all of those case studies. You could build a simple RAG architecture which has knowledge of those existing case studies, and you could query in, like, find me a similar case along with this. And it's highly likely that you will be able to find. Now, these kind of use cases have been talked before. However, large language models and LLMs just, take it out of the bat. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some use cases from industry specific. So if you talk of healthcare, you have intelligent health assistants, you have personalized medicines, you have digital scribes, and there's tons of different companies that are coming out in the areas of medical coding. You have assistants, you have R&Ds, like labs which are using generative AI. Then there's life sciences where you could do drug discovery, clinical trials, research reporting, analytics, enrollment, stuff like that, which is again all could be powered by generative AIs. Now, it's not that these use cases have not existed before. The form and the ease of implementation of generative AI and being the fact being it's largely application centric than you requiring to go into some kind of model building exercise like a traditional machine learning. That's kind of the improvement. So the barrier to entry into AI for these deep areas is gone. It's largely gone, and that's where some of this shines. Then in financial services you have tons, like you have AI managed portfolios, you have unstructured content evaluation, you have sentiment analysis, you can drive innovation, you could do advisory services, you could improve financial documentation, you could do risk assessments, you could do stock portfolio analysis. By the way, when I said stock portfolio, I have a small plug. I also have a channel called Quant Lab, which fundamentally talks about quantitative analysis, finance, bringing AI to the table of trading. The link should be somewhere above. Please check it out. Manufacturing, tons of different use cases, operational efficiency, equipment diagnostic. You could even build traceability systems using generative AI. Retail and then media and entertainment, both of these areas could really fundamentally also benefit. So in a nutshell, this technology or the change in the direction, and probably a disruption also, as most people are calling it, so is huge, and the barrier to entry is gone. So all you need is probably a LLM to use, which you can happily use large language model, sorry, chat GPT, Mistral, Llama, Gemini, Claude, all of these guys, and they are offering all of these services in the form of APIs. So what you need is bring your data to the tables. Once you have data, you augment it in the form of a RAG architecture. If you're not familiar with RAG, talked about it before, we'll throw a link somewhere here. And then that's it. You have started. Now, is RAG the only thing? No, not really. There's more advanced conversations that can happen. Like you want to fine tune your model. You could do very deep instruction tuning. You could do very deep fine tuning of models. You could optimize your RAG architectures. You could augment the way you are explaining or showing data to the user, which is more of a UX design than a generative AI problem. But there's much more deeper architectures than just RAG. However, RAG is really useful and very quick to use, and most people would find immediate value in it than trying to go down the rabbit hole of doing fine tuning. That has been my finding, and until next video, thank you. If you have liked the video and stuck to the end, deep thanks. Please subscribe to my channel, share it if you have liked, comment if you want to see more.